All right, so we're going to talk today about lean maintenance. So lean maintenance is all about teamwork, empowerment, our employee empowerment, continuous improvement, and then communication. Now you notice over to the right, that's my book on lean maintenance. Some of the things that you'll hear today came from the book on lean maintenance. Um, I'm not, I changed the way I think after you're working with so many companies, you learn a lot. So I merged into some other areas more than the book has. So a little bit different. Self-direction, in other words, self-directed work teams. We don't need someone telling me what to do. So welcome, take notes, ask questions. Think about 1 to 3 things that you learned during this training, which you could take back to where you work and implement. Okay, don't write a laundry list. Don't take 1,000 notes. Just you can take notes, but just focus down on 1 to 3 things you're going to go back and do differently. I like what Dr. Deming says that 85% of the reasons for failure are deficiencies in the systems and process rather than the employee. The role of management is to change the process rather than badgering employees to do better. You got to do it. You got to do it, and it's absolutely true. It's no different when we're talking about lean maintenance. So we talked about requirements for lean maintenance. What are they? Fully functional CMS, fully functional. What does that mean? In all elements: planning, scheduling, preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance, failure reporting, analysis, corrective action system, rework, all the metrics we need. Maintenance process maps, got to have them. This is the maintenance process map here, just in the maintenance scheduling process, not the overall maintenance, just the scheduling process. Roles and responsibilities have to be clearly defined. I think all of you would agree with me. This is a racy chart that I put together for lean maintenance for one organization. Be glad to share it with you. After this is over, send me an email. I'll share it with you. Kpi dashboard. We got to know how well we're doing, and having a dashboard, having your metrics up that tell us how well we're doing is definitely, it not only influences ourselves, but it influences our employees. Because if employees look up to the scoreboard, I don't know how many of you like football. Let's just say you watch college football, and if you ever seen a team that's back behind by about 14 points, and next thing they win the game. Why? Because they knew to score in the game, and that's what we have to do. And lean maintenance is definitely a requirement. Lean maintenance is having KPI dashboards. Training for all employees in lean maintenance. What is it? If you're going to change where you're at and where you're going to, think about, you're going to have to put together some kind of training for them. Don't make it too complicated. Keep it simple. But in that, give them some steps, what they need to do to move forward. And then put together a master plan with that. Requirements for lean maintenance, you need skilled employees, you need skilled technicians. In lean maintenance, you need skilled technicians, not someone that says, well, I learned from my dad or I learned from Bubba. It doesn't work that way. Weekly training, you always should be seeking knowledge. I have what I call them the Toolbox Talks. And they're just single point lessons that I give to people, and it helps them, learn something in a very short period of time. So Toolbox Talks, maintenance planner. How many of you do not have a maintenance planner? Go ahead and put that in. Tell me, how many? Well, Chelsea, we got 22 people now. It's good.
Yeah, Jared says we have 3 for our facility.
Good.
And Nick says no planner for last 3 employers. David says no planner. Logan says planner, schedule, manager, all in one.
Oh my gosh. Which one do you want me to do, boss? All of them? Okay. Which one do you want me to do right?
And David also said supervisors are the planner and the scheduler.
Yeah. That happens in a lot of places. And it's kind of hard. It's difficult to do that. A maintenance planner is not an option in lean maintenance. You got to have a dedicated planner that's trained in the process. Look at the scheduling. Look at the scheduling process up above. by itself, it can be overwhelming. But a maintenance planner, it's not a big deal. And we'll talk more about reason why that is shortly. And these toolbox talks I mentioned, this is just one of them on preventive maintenance, and another one on 7 reasons why work orders are not closed out, accurately. You can get them. I'll give you my website at the end, and then you can go on there and you can download this kind of stuff. One thing to tell you about me, if you send me an email or you go to my website, it does not require any email addresses, because I don't send emails to anybody without them asking me something. What is lean maintenance? Lean maintenance is very simple. It's a set of techniques to identify and eliminate waste from operations, a set of organizational principles to maximize value and eliminate waste. So if from a maintenance perspective, eliminate waste, the waste that we have, especially if you have no planner, your wrench time's hands-on tool time, it's going to be low. And what I mean by that, and what I mean by hands-on tool time, I'm talking about the amount of time they're actually working on a piece of equipment. And typically what you'll find in reactive maintenance, and I'll show you wrench time later, but I'm gonna give you off the top of my head. Reactive, you're running anywhere from 10% to at the most 30% wrench time. World class is 55 to 65%. So it's a lot of difference here. A lot of difference. We're wasting labor, material, parts, and production capacity without a planner. Build quality and preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance needs to have step-by-step instructions. The corrective maintenance needs to have repeatable procedures. Emergency work we should call unacceptable unless we have a sticker on that piece of equipment. It's called RTF, run to failure. So if we're going to have emergency work, what we have to do is come back and restore it and maintain it afterwards. Might have to come back another day, but we'll come back. We'll write another work order and come back and restore it at a later date. Create knowledge. Knowledge is what it's all about. Knowledge of repair and restoration practices. PM, PDM. What is preventive maintenance? What is predictive maintenance? I just did a class on preventive maintenance recently and had some people in the class that I'd say everybody in the class took away that they didn't understand the depth you can get into in preventive maintenance, and it's not complicated. PDM, planning and scheduling, work execution, parts and material best practices. One of the requirements too is respect everyone, but most places I think do a fairly good job of it. There's some places they don't, but it's typically, if your climate and your plant has people with attitudes, typically it's set by leadership. I hate to say that, but I learned that in the U.S. Army. I went to officer candidate school, and one of the things they teach you there is, the environment is set by the leader. In other words, it's reactive, it's set by your leader. But we got to change that. Doesn't mean you need to get rid of the leader, it means we got to change the way we're doing business. Optimize the whole, everything. In other words, asset and process reliability. It's not about just equipment reliability, it's also about process reliability. What we want to do is optimize process reliability, at optimal costs. Manage them with data. That's why the Cmms is so important. Now, the reason why I'm saying with data, we're talking about KPIs and so on, but data tells us a lot. One of the things that it helps us do is that if we have the right data, we can make the right decisions at the right time. And it's very difficult if you don't have a plan or schedule. Why? Because everybody's closing out work orders. So what do you think? And I'll throw this out to the group. How many of you, everyone in the maintenance department closes out a work order? Tell me. Somebody give me an answer.
Cool. I think people are just typing right now. Jose says no technical supervisor. David says every craftsman closes their own ticket. It's reviewed by supervisors and closed by dispatch clerks.
Yeah. So everybody basically closes it out however they want. Dispatch clerk, that's a perfect person that could be a planner too. But I want the person to sit and calm in their office, and it's what a planner is. I tell people a maintenance planner, if you want to know if you got a proactive planner, if any of you guys got maintenance planners, call them on the phone when you get back to work and say, hey, I need a part right now. And if the next thing you hear is a dial tone, then you got a proactive planner, because we don't pull them into reactivity this week. They're on future work. They're dealing with next week. That's part of lean. If we want to optimize how we're doing work, this is the only way we can do it. So what is not lean? Okay. Reduction in workforce. I don't know how many places I've been to, we talk about a lean initiative. First thing they say, how many people we're going to lose? No. We may restructure the workforce, but you never, especially in maintenance. I don't know about production. Okay. I'm not a production person, but in maintenance, you never lay off anyone. If you do, the good ones will leave, the bad ones stay. Okay. And everyone knows that. So we don't want that. Reduction in cost. It's not a reduction in cost. We will optimize costs, but we won't reduce costs. Will it optimize it? Yes. Will ultimately, lead to reduction? I'm sure it will. I mean, that's just the way it is, But some of the reduction in costs is reallocation of costs. Maybe we need a more effective CMMS. Maybe we need training, whatever. Lean is all about optimizing resources. That's what it's about, optimizing. Labor, expenditures, material, money, asset reliability, process reliability. I mentioned the process reliability. We forget a lot of time. So some critical elements of lean maintenance, repeatable procedures. Now, how many of you have procedures that if I give it to all my maintenance techs, they'll all conduct the work, execute the work to the same standard? But you guys tell me, who has that? Or who doesn't have it?
David says, in the process of doing that now.
Okay.
Let's see, Jared says, biggest issue missing from our plant. Procedures are missing for most of all tasks. Rob says, not yet. Jose says, I have SOP, but not all tech have the same understanding.
Yeah, that's why we got to have every asset, every function, everything we do to an asset, we should have a work order. I mean, a task that says this is what we do, a procedure. It has what do we do. It's typically a repeatable procedure. That way, if we have failures, like I do with my maintenance, used to do with my maintenance techs, I'd have them go in and look at the failure data and come up with, who came up with the best answer about why we keep having this problem. And they would go back in equipment history. And most of the time it come back, we didn't have a good procedure. Most of the time it did. But whoever gave me the right answer, the best answer, then I would buy them and their spouse dinner, wherever they wanted it in the town, whatever they wanted. Repeatable procedures are important. I do have templates for this. Be glad to share them with anybody. Discipline to follow procedures and processes. If we don't have a process, we don't follow it, we don't have procedures, we're going to be lost. These are critical. Maintenance planner schedule, I mentioned before, full time, results in increased wrench time. Call them on the phone. If you got a planner now, say, I need a part right now. What will you hear? The dial tone. Okay. They're working at next week's work, not this week. Update and visible, maintenance dashboards, where everybody can see it when they come to work. What is the metrics look like? What do our KPIs look like? Are we doing well or not? Fully functional CMMS, which is utilized 100%. That means all work goes into the CMMS, all. So we don't do any work without a charge to an asset unless it's something like sweep the shop, okay? So autonomous maintenance, very simple. Autonomous maintenance is not a big deal, really not. So we talk about autonomous maintenance is what? Let me back up. I can't see it because I got my screen share thing done. But autonomous maintenance is very simple, okay? It's just we got operators doing maintenance, nothing wrong with it. The problem is if we don't have written procedures for them, then they do it however they want to do it, just like maintenance does. So we got to have repeatable procedures. If operators are doing maintenance, whatever they're doing, I want to make sure that they are trained to do it and they have the right procedure to follow. I'm not a fan, by the way, of operator doing a lot of work. Some work, yes, but I want them to do a great job, managing their assets as far as running the equipment. So what is lean maintenance? Let's talk about lean maintenance as a management strategy, aims to apply lean principles and goals to physical asset management to control waste and the maintenance labor. Remember what I said, wrench time, and talking about the plan of schedulers, and to control waste and maintenance labor, materials, and production. The goal of lean maintenance is to provide perfect value to the customer through a process that generates zero waste and provide optimal asset reliability at optimal cost. So some of our goals in maintenance, okay, we've got indicators and ultimate goal, backlog. Backlog is the work that's in our backlog ready to, typically you got two kinds of backlog. I'm gonna talk about ready backlog. Ready to backlog is ready to schedule. Should have 2 to 4 weeks of backlog. 1 week of backlog, if you have 10 maintenance people work 40 hours a week, then 1 week of backlog is 400 hours. Typically, you should have 2 to 4 weeks of backlog. So if we have an interruption, a failure somewhere, we can pull all that work orders out. We can go out and execute. We got the parts, we got everything ready. Total backlog of everything. These are just work requests in and so on, 4 to 6 weeks. Store service. In other words, when we go to the storeroom, what percentage of the time when the CMMS says the part's in the storeroom, what percentage of the time is the part there? It should be above 95 to 98%. Materials delivered to the job site. You guys that have a large site, typically if it's scheduled, a job's scheduled like on Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning and it's 3 miles out, unless you got a truck to carry it with, it should already have been delivered there the night prior. Stores turns. In other words, how often does the part actually cycle in and out of the storeroom? 2 to 3 turns is what we should see in a year. And what that, if we think about this, if we have a lot of stock outs, that means the storeroom, the inventory says it's in stock, but we go there and it's not there, then probably we got something wrong somewhere. Maybe we got reactive maintenance. Preventive maintenance hours includes PDM, 30% of labor hours or greater. Unscheduled man hours. Sorry, ladies, about the man thing. I didn't write that. Okay. The under 10% on the job supervision, above 65%. Schedule compliance, above 90%. When I say schedule compliance, it's by hour, by day. PM compliance, above 95%. Overtime, yeah, I'm sorry, it's low. Okay. And it isn't that this came from a world-class plant, Alcoa Mount Holly, where I work. And it was the first plant in the world ever certified as world-class. I have to tell you, I lived off overtime. Okay. I left my job because I could not live off of overtime. Okay. So take it however you want. But what we should have done is we should have warned us, management should have warned us ahead of time. As we move forward, we're going to reduce overtime. So reduce your lifestyle or find you a good new job or whatever. But we're going to do it. Don't just do it and don't tell people. That's not the right thing to do. It's not respectful of my maintenance techs. On the job wrench time, above 55%. Remember I mentioned earlier, hands-on tool time, 55%. Typically, that goes as high as 65%, world-class. Percentage of planned work, above 90%. Parts, material, procedures. Emergency labor hours, under 2%. And PPM, predictive, preventive maintenance routine, actions. In other words, every time we go out and inspect something, whether it's PDM or PM, it's 6 to 1. In other words, every 6 times we go out, we should find one thing we have to go back and do differently. Otherwise, we have a problem because we got to replace it. So let's just say it's a V belt. So our V belt's deflection is bad. Every time we go out, then something's wrong, right? Either our frequency is not right, or maybe our installation practice is not right, or something's wrong. So when we look at this, what is lean maintenance? Lean maintenance is a maintenance strategy that aims to apply lean principles and goals to the maintenance process to control waste and maintenance labor, materials, and production. And we start with work identification. 95% plus of work orders come from PM, PDM, and operator care. I know you saw 90% before. I'm telling you, based on information that I have created over the years, This is what I see in the best plants in the world. I'm talking about no matter where I go, whether it's Australia, India, wherever I go, these numbers are very, very common, okay? Maintenance planning, 95% of maintenance work orders come from PDM, PM, and operator care. And that's the metric is percentage of planned work. Scheduling, 100% of maintenance labor hours are scheduled by day, by hour. The metric is schedule compliant. Step 4, maintenance work is executed to specifications, so work execution, following repeatable procedures. What's the metric? Rework. All work orders are closed. Step 5, work order closeout. All work orders are closed out with all codes and information in the CMMS required fields. Metric, percentage of work orders closed accurately. Typically what that is, the planner will go in and they'll pull so many work orders randomly and go through, every month and go through and review them. Typically they do it with the maintenance supervisor. Then breakdown of functional failures, failure reporting, analysis, and corrective action system. FRACIS is the process by which we evolve the rest of our maintenance program. So FRACIS is a big deal. It's failure reporting and analysis. Our metric here is cost. The goal of lean maintenance is to provide perfect value to the customer through processes that generate zero waste and provide optimal reliability at optimal cost. You knew you'd see this, okay? The 7 deadly waste in maintenance, okay? Maintenance planning and scheduling is dysfunctional. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Wrench time is unknown, hands-on tool time. So when you talk about hands-on tool time, let's say we got a scheduled job and it's scheduled at 7 o'clock and we go there and we can't get the machine. So that wrench time loss is called coordination delays, okay? Or it could be idle time at the job site, okay? Or we go to the machine and we find out, man, I left a part, I got to go back to the store and pick it up, and that's traveling, but that's also looking for parts. All these things that happen, late starts, okay, the equipment's down at 7 o'clock, but I don't know why people schedule things at the start of a shift. When you know that the maintenance people are in the shop, they have to get their tools and material and all that. Why don't we shut down at 7:30? And maybe they have to. I don't know. I just like to make it practical. That's all. Performing preventive maintenance on equipment that continues to break down, it's just not logical. It's not logical. Why do we perform preventive maintenance? It's supposed to be to prevent failure. Maintenance rework is high. And whether we have to go back to the equipment again because it failed again right after we made the repair to it. And it's not measured. There's a metric maintenance rework. If you're a member of SMRP, download the maintenance metrics and look at maintenance rework. No one knows the score in maintenance. Maintenance metric data is suspect. It's a big deal because people don't know the data. They don't know if the data is accurate or not. If you don't have a planner, the person that's closing out the work order, if it's a supervisor or the technician, they're probably going to be in a hurry to go home and they're not going to close out the data accurately. So forget about the scorecard. Okay, I'm going to move on. Definitions of maintenance words, terms are not defined. So everybody's got their own definition of what rework is, what plan work is, what's schedule work, what's preventive maintenance, and so on. So I got this one picture over the side, quote, maintenance, the act of maintaining, the state of being maintained. That comes from Webster's Dictionary. That's a good one to put up in the shop, okay, as a poster. I'll be glad to give it to you, okay. Maintenance parts are not managed, and stockouts are high. So I mentioned wrench time. What is wrench time? Okay. So wrench time, sometimes also referred as tool time, is a metric that shows how much time maintenance techs spend with a tool in their hand performing actual maintenance work. Now, there used to be a thing called a wrench time app. A wrench time device, with a PDA. You could walk around and do a wrench time study. The problem is people mismanaged it. They didn't give it to a maintenance tech. They hired some consultant to come in and do the wrench time study. I have no problem. I want maintenance technicians to do it. I want them to come up with the answer on why are we traveling so much? Why are we having to look for parts and so on? So we can calculate it accurately. And they're engaged now in the solution. For now, accept that increasing a workforce at 25 to 50% in wrench time would double the labor. You get twice the work done. A 30-person workforce would perform the work of 60 people. You can see that this is the vital value. This comes from Doc Palmer's book, Maintenance Planning and Scheduling. So lean maintenance, wrench time, 55 to 65%. Typical, I'm trying to be general here, okay? Typical, 15 to 25. Storeroom stockouts, lean, very rare. You know, typical, normal, whatever normal is. Typically, it's a lot. Okay, maintenance costs, lean maintenance, 1.7% to 3.4% of replacement asset value. This is typical, going to be 5.2 to whatever. So replacement asset value, you know, sometimes called estimated replacement value, the monetary value that would be required to replace the production capability of the present assets in the plant, including production or process equipment, as well as utility, support, and related assets. It should not be based on the insured value or depreciated value. Typically, what I tell companies, what I like to do when you go in to make a change, you got to manage the cost. Okay, well, not manage it, you got to measure it, but measure it accurately. So what we do is first take the insured value of the plant. How much did it cost? How much would it cost the company if this plant were to disappear and we had to build a brand new one? Because that's the replacement of asset value. And what's our maintenance costs associated with that? And you'll start measuring the maintenance costs, measure it accurately. And you'll see at first, whatever the number it is, it's the number. But then as we start to improve, what happens with maintenance costs is that it typically, okay, I'll give you my hand, okay. Typically maintenance costs is like this, up and down. And then as we start to change, costs go up because we have to invest, but then it goes down well below where it was. Seen it happen too many times. So let's talk about a total productive maintenance pyramid, okay? TPM enables optimal process reliability and optimal asset reliability and process reliability at optimal cost. So at the bottom, the foundation of it, without a strong foundation, TPM fails, okay? So we got the CMMS, fully functional. If you don't have one, I don't know what to tell you. It's a difficult thing, you know, but there are ways of getting around it. There's ways of getting it started. You just have to send me an email. We have to talk about it, brainstorm it. Planning and scheduling, I mentioned that over and over again. Total productive maintenance, TPM, it's lean right there in the middle of it. It's got to be part of our process. Work order system, preventive maintenance, all these things are important to us on the foundation. If the foundation is not strong, the rest will fall. So the next level, we got predictive maintenance. So once we get the bottom level straight and it's functional, then we go to predictive maintenance, root cause analysis, maintenance engineering, start focusing on the storeroom. What I heard once was you got to crawl before you walk and walk before you run, okay? So employees, the most valuable asset, that should be at the bottom, really. It really should be. Autonomous maintenance, we want operators engaged in maintenance, absolutely. As long as there's certain rules associated with that. And then RCM, we want to apply RCM to TPM. Reliability center maintenance, it's looking at the functional requirements of the asset and do we have the maintenance strategy in place to mitigate the failures if we consider them unacceptable. Otherwise, if we accept the failures, then we put a sign on the machine, RTF, run the failures. Everybody knows that. And it's continuous improvement loop. We got to have continuous improvement. So TPM enables optimal asset reliability at optimal cost. So lean maintenance is proactive maintenance employing planned and scheduled maintenance activities to optimize total productive maintenance practices. So I think you guys have got planning and scheduling down now. Using maintenance strategies developed through the application of reliability center maintenance logic. You know, there's a logic to RCM. It's all about the failure modes, failure codes, and so on. Talking about risk, relative risk to failure. What is the risk of failure of that asset? What does it cost us? Empowering self-directed work team, action team, using a 5S process. And then weekly Kaizen improvement events and autonomous maintenance. I think it's important to have those. You know, I mean, to have, you know, if we have self-directed work teams, which many companies do. In fact, I was talking to some guys from BMW recently. They really got it down well. The problem they don't have well is some of these things we're talking about right now. But I mean, the plants are running very well. But the maintenance people complaining that it's, you know, there's some things that they can learn better. Management can. Then together with multi-skilled maintenance technicians perform the maintenance through committed use of their work order system, their CMMS or enterprise asset management. All right, next is roles and responsibilities in lean maintenance. You know, in lean maintenance, we have to define roles and responsibilities. So this is what I call a RACI chart. Okay, the RACI chart, back up here, go to the very bottom of that chart and you see where it says responsibility, the doer, could be more than one person, okay? Accountable, the buck stops here, one. Consulted, two-way communication, informed, one-way communication. So if you look at the top of tasks, CMMS management, who manages, who's accountable for it? And here, typically what you do is you get all these stakeholders in the room and you come up with this chart, okay? You list all the tasks and then you get the stakeholders to agree. There can only be, in this one line of CMMS management, it can only be one A, one accountable. That's where the buck stops. So if it's CMMS is not working right, who do we go to? It's going to be the CMMS administrator. Who's the doer with the CMMS? The maintenance planner. And you notice people consulted, informed. Informed is one-way communication. Consulted is two-way communication. Lean, leading and lagging KPI management. You notice this one, the A is the maintenance manager. Preventive maintenance, the maintenance manager's A. PM evaluation, the maintenance manager. You notice he's on most of these now, except for production rework. Okay. And then you got the failure reporting, analysis, and corrective action system. So here's the steps to defining roles and responsibilities. Well, let me ask you, let me back up a minute. You guys, give me a scale of one that your roles and responsibilities are defined. A two is we have them defined, but they're kind of fluid. They're not really, that good. A three is we don't have any at all. All right, so give me a number, 1 to 3.
We got 2 from Nick, 2 from Jose, 2.5 from Jared, a 2, another 2.
Oh, you guys being quiet now. Come on, step up. I got too many 2s.
A lot of 2s right now. We got another 2.
That's good. That's good, though. That means that people are here just to learn something new to go back and help them do something different. That's good. All right, what else we got? Got any 1s or 3s?
No 1s or 3s, but we did get a 2.5, close to a 3.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So this is how you define roles and responsibilities. You'll assemble a team of people involved in lean success. An example: planner, supervisor, technician, reliability engineer, production leader. These are typically the ones I like to have in there. Then we educate the team what an effective lean maintenance looks like. Because how can you define roles and responsibilities if you don't know what good looks like? Define the processes or tasks required for success on lean maintenance. So we got CMMS management, lean, KPI, preventive maintenance, and so on. All these things are our processes. Prepare key people before you assemble the team. So you go to people that you know they influence people, the ones that will influence the group, and talk to them ahead of time before you go into the meeting. Okay, facilitate the team through our RACI process. Typically, it's going to be one person facilitate it. Post a RACI chart along with lean KPIs and dashboards for all to see. Put it up there beside the dashboard so people can see who's the roles and responsibilities in that. No finger pointing in it. Perform RCA, root cause analysis, when lean maintenance does not meet expectations. Okay. So this is a good example here. I've got the maintenance manager. So if you look at preventive maintenance, he's accountable. For PM optimization, accountable. All the maintenance processes, he's accountable. He or she is accountable. All right. So the 6 S's of lean maintenance. This is a Ricky Smith one. Okay. Okay. So PM optimization. So PM optimization is a process by which you go through to evaluate your PMs and lean out the non-value added tasks, or to make some changes to some of the tasks and make them add value. So sort, perform PM evaluation on the most critical assets first. And then once we do that, we can template it across like assets or components. What we learn from the PM evaluation, we could put it across to it. Straighten, align the PM schedule to ensure PMs are completed on time. 10% rules of preventive maintenance. That means if it's a monthly PM, you got 3 days to do it in, you're out of compliance. Identify PMs which are either repeatable, and identify PMs where the asset is no longer, on the plant site. Standardize, use repeatable procedures for all maintenance actions on this. That's the standardization of PM optimization. Spread, template results across like assets. Whatever you learn, you need to template it across other assets. Sustain through the right KPIs. Here we got preventive maintenance KPIs, put together for recently a class I did. So here what we've got. I'm gonna give you the full PM optimization process. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna identify the asset or area. So here in this mill, you look to the right, you can see this is the area that we put the boundaries around, like with RCM. We put it around that. We identified a cross-functional team, an operator, maintenance tech, reliability engineer, maintenance planner. Establish expectations for everyone engaged in the process. What do we expect to get out of this? What's in it for me? Okay, as a technician or a maintenance engineer, reliability engineer, planner, so on. Define the end goal of the process. When we go through this whole process, what do we expect to see at the end? So I'll ask you guys, if you're going to do a PM optimization on a production line on equipment, what do you expect if you went through this whole process? What do you expect to be the end result of that? Somebody tell me.
Jared says less downtime.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anybody else? Come on. I know you guys haven't gone to sleep yet.
I'm sure they're just typing it out.
Yeah.
Here we go. Logan says,
Eliminate waste from PM process. More consistent quality, absolutely. Efficiency, absolutely. Less cost on parts, hallelujah. Reduce waste, absolutely. Waste in labor, parts, and so on. No redundant work. That's what drives me crazy. When you do these, you see that we're doing the same thing, now that we did yesterday. Why are we doing that? Less cost, production, increased production, absolutely. Maximum production. Yeah. Man, you guys got cranking. Okay, let's move on. That was good. And so we got this define the end goal. So the next thing we're going to do is define how we will measure if the PM optimization is effective or not. So how do we do that? Because we have to establish a baseline first. What I like to do is I look at production rate, OEE, whatever I can get off that line from production, and then from the maintenance side, how much emergency labor hours on this asset per month? How much urgent labor hours on this asset per month? How much are we spending on parts per month on this asset? It tells you a lot because we got to set a baseline. So as we improve, we can start seeing that we're adding value. Present copies of the PMs to all parties. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to review the equipment history for the past 30, 60, and 180 days. We have copies of the PMs here, okay? So we're going to look at numbers of breakdowns, causes of critical breakdowns based on formal RCA, PM labor hours versus emergency labor hours. Then we're going to review the current PM, the PDF to identify if the PM procedure need to be rewritten. So that's one of the tasks. It would need to be rewritten. May training be required for that task. PM frequency may be inaccurate, may need to be adjusted. If the equipment is in a maintainable condition, if it's not a maintainable condition, I call that insanity. Performing preventive maintenance on equipment that continues to break down. It's not logical. Rewrite the PMs. You need to have a standard for what a good PM looks like if you're going to ask people to write a PM. This is the standard. So the procedure should be a noun, adjective, and a verb, and the steps the same way. Very simple. We don't need some Oxford graduate, college graduate to write these tasks. You need to keep it simple and to the point, because people aren't going to read the whole thing. Let's just be honest with ourselves. This isn't about English grammar. It's about making it simple so people can understand it, get to the point. Monitor and measure to ensure new PMs are modified or effective. So how are we going to measure that? I'll throw that out to the crowd. We've already talked about some metric. So we just wrote new PMs, and we now put them in place. So what metric would you guys use to measure if the PMs are effective or not? Give me a metric or metrics. MTBF, absolutely. Mean time to fail. Whoa, Logan. Mean time to fail after PM. That's a great one. Emergency notification, great one. Rework, percent rework, absolutely. Uptime, absolutely. Great one. I like the mean time to fail after PM. I've seen that at one plant in my life. That's it. And it works great. Logan, thank you for that one. Thank you, all of you, for it. That's good. That was good. So what is a typical maintenance structure? This is a typical organization, not a lean, it's a typical. You got a maintenance manager, you got a storeroom attendant, you got a maintenance planner, schedulers, okay? And typically they report up to the maintenance manager, but they're in jobs that they don't really need to have anybody oversight. They just need to do their job. So we have a maintenance manager, we have a maintenance planner, scheduler, we have a storeroom attendant. Next, we have the maintenance supervisor. You guys have probably seen these structures, and the technicians fall underneath them. Okay, that's a typical maintenance structure. This is a lean maintenance structure. We got a lean maintenance leader. We got okay. I know you're probably wondering, what's a maintenance engineer and technician? Okay, a maintenance engineer and technician is somebody, a highly skilled maintenance technician that understands RCM, reliability center maintenance, root cause analysis, all the techniques, highly trained, highly skilled. That person is going to go out and focus on failures and mitigation of those failures. Planner, scheduler, another force multiplier. Both of these two together is a force multiplier. And that adds value to the reliability of your assets. And then we got all the technicians. But you notice here, very tough structures. This was much simpler, much simpler. Empower the technician, let them loose, let them go do their job. These BMW guys I was talking about, I tell you what, they're good. They're really good. I was awed by them. Everything we could talk about, they were doing it to the process. It was awesome. Okay, so the 7 guiding principles of lean maintenance. Step 1. So the 1 guiding principle to start with a fully functional CMMS. So let me ask you this. Who has a fully functional CMMS? You consider it working 100%. You guys tell me, who has one? And I don't want 70%. I mean 100%. That's pretty good though, Logan. That's pretty good. 70% is pretty good. Jose, you telling me that this is you got a fully functional one? You can give me another thumbs up, it's fine. 75%, 85%. Okay, that's good. That's good. So you're trying to take your operation to the next level. Optimal wrench time, it's a guiding principle. That's the whole focus needs to be on it. We've got a fully functional CMMS. We want to optimize wrench time. How do we optimize wrench time? You cannot do it without a planner scheduler. You cannot. Prove me wrong. Okay. If you're doing it, prove me wrong. Mitigate rework. Many times I've been proven wrong. Okay. When I put the challenge out, mitigate rework. Rework is if we've repaired the equipment and we have to go back to it at some period of time, then it's called rework. And I've had people tell me, well, it's not the same failure. Well, how do you know we didn't find the true cause of the failure? Okay, so it's rework, repeatable procedures requirements, specifications for all work. So we put that belt drive on, what's the deflection and tension of that V-belt should be? Employee involvement. I want feedback on the procedures. On the last page of the procedure, it should be condition as found of the asset, condition as left, and then any recommended changes to the procedure. And if you want to copy that template up, I'll be glad to give it to you. It's on there. And then engagement and failure elimination. Process maps we talked about. We want repeatability. Everybody to do it the same way. Minimizes waste. If we're doing it wrong, the worst thing we can do is change the process. Manage for leading and lagging KPIs, and ultimately optimal asset reliability at optimal cost. The maintenance cost 1.4 to 3.4%. Most organizations range anywhere from 9, to 14%. It's huge. They spend a lot of money to get the reliability they get. So these are some metrics that come out of the lean maintenance book, reliability and maintainability. And I think so we look at OEE, M-time, let's go preventive maintenance, planning and scheduling, materials management, skills training, parts usage. That's a good one there, skills training. So if you look at your parts consumption, one part that seems to be trending out of control that we're checking a lot of them out, such as bearings, then probably we need to focus our training on that. We could increase MTBF by doing that. Maintenance supervision, maintenance control, a percentage of unplanned labor hours divided by total labor hour. Now, hands-on tool time is really what I look at. Luke says work order discipline, percentage of labor hours accounted for in work orders. My work order discipline is all these fields, certain fields have to be in, or it's not we don't have work order discipline. And work process, profit, productivity. I don't like to get into overtime hours, the percentage of total labor hours. The overtime will be what the overtime will be. Okay. I'd say if we start improving things, people will find out they got life outside of work and they want to work less overtime. There's always going to be one, like the guy had, Jimmy. He worked all the overtime all the time. You don't have, I'd ask the whole group, and it's always Jimmy said, I'll take care of it. I'll work overtime tomorrow. And that's fine. But if we got a life outside of work, then we may not want that overtime. So this is a dashboard I created for lean maintenance KPIs. You look at the PM, PDM with 10% compliance. So what does that tell me? We're doing bad. We're 89% bad. Okay. So number of work ID from PDM, PM, PDM, 14. So number of work has been identified from PM and PDM. Not enough work has been identified from our PM and PDM. In other words, we keep executing PM and PDM. We're not seeing any work from it. Schedule compliance by day, by hour, 97%. Rework, we had 7 reworks. Stock out, store stock out, 24. MTBF of critical assets, 1,344 hours. Maintenance material costs, no, it's yellow, it's not red. So it must mean that, we've got to watch it. Maintenance labor costs is going up, OE is going down. It doesn't matter, what we're measuring as much as that we're measuring on the right thing. Okay. We have to focus on the right thing. So every step in the process must be measured in order to tell us where our problems are. And Peter Drucker says you can't manage what you don't measure. That's a fact. So some alignments, requirements, education and lean maintenance best practices, everybody. Discipline to the execution of all processes, maintenance and production. It's not about just maintenance. Every plant I've ever been into that had a maintenance problem had a very serious production problem. Okay, that doesn't mean we point fingers. They're pointing fingers at each other, but we got to get together and put some discipline in how we do things. KPI scorecards show the impact of maintenance and production on each other. How do we impact each other? Roles and responsibilities I mentioned. I'm sure everyone knows how to participate in lean maintenance. And then demonstrate short-term patience. Okay. I had to learn that one. Okay. I had to, what I call walk the plant, this was when I was a maintenance supervisor. I had a pager. Okay. Those of you don't know what a pager is, it buzzed. And tell you somebody's name on it. Typically, it was a plant manager with me. And I'd be out walking around the plant and I'm stressed. I left my pager on my desk and I'm walking around the plant because some knucklehead did something crazy and I got to cool down before I say something I shouldn't say. Okay. We want to, the alignment requirements and eliminate waste, production losses and maintenance losses. That's the whole thing about lean is reduction of losses. Inspect what you expect. If you don't inspect it, don't expect it. Okay. So if you inspect what people are doing, then they'll do what you expect them to do. So we have the corporate strategy of lean maintenance. We have the maintenance strategy. We have our maintenance objectives. We have our action plans to put in place. We implement those plans. We measure performance against those plans. And then we have a periodic review. How well is lean maintenance actually working? How is it working for us? So I'm just going to be honest with you. What's some possible obstacles to success in lean maintenance? People do not want nor see the value in change. They fear change unless they are engaged in it. If they're engaged in the change, if we pull them in, then they'll be more open. And typically it's the one person that resists the most, that once you bring that person into the fold and convince them, then everything is go to them because everyone will follow them. Maybe not everybody, but most of them. Maintenance personnel see this as another program, of the week, not an enduring change. Lack of financial resources. Need to show the value. You got to show them the value. How much money is on the table? How much pain can we continue to take? No one knows the plan. We need a master plan. We need to put together a master plan, step by step. This is what we're going to do. That way we got a plan. We got a roadmap to take us from New York City to San Francisco, and we know how to get there the most direct route, or at least the most scenic route anyway. Come on. People fear change. So I recommend the Toolbox Talks. I got a lot of Toolbox Talks on my website at worldclassmaintenance.org. You can download them. Doesn't require your email address. I don't send anybody any notices. I'm not into that marketing stuff. Okay. So here's a master plan, just kind of an example. I just put it together. Very simple. So the tasks I put in on the left, lean maintenance execution, create a lean maintenance master plan, define roles and responsibilities, update, create maintenance process maps, verify that CMS is fully functional. And I can tell you, fully functional, that means we're measuring things the right way. We're getting the data in and the data out. Most people have a problem with that. Create Kpi dashboards, identify the major losses we're occurring. Create a master plan. That's a crawl, walk, run. Okay. So you notice this on the first step. This is in the first task. We're going to create that crawl, walk, run. We're going to crawl good when we can crawl well like a little baby. And we start walking a little bit. And then once we can walk well, then we'll run. Then we receive buy-in from senior management, and then write on down. Implement lean maintenance, then measure and adjust. Okay, so crawl, walk, run. So some recommendations to success: education. I mentioned that before. Identify the potential probable losses in maintenance process, money and loss capacity is a big one. Assess your maintenance process, identifying gaps. Create an action plan, I mentioned. Create an expected ROI based at specific points in action plans. At this point, we should see this much return on investment. Define roles and responsibilities we mentioned before. Create this lean maintenance dashboard I mentioned. Then the whole weekly 5-minute meetings to update everyone where we are. You do that at the lean maintenance board. I used to do that in the mornings. I had a printout of our metrics, and my maintenance guys, we go over the metrics, and it helped everybody get engaged in it. It helped a lot. If you don't have a maintenance plan, create a maintenance plan position. If you can't do that, if you're a maintenance manager, hear me now, write a work order and assign your best maintenance technician to be a maintenance planner. Send them to training, get them training and planning and scheduling, and then let them plan and schedule. It's a force multiplier. Your wrench time will go from wherever it is at now to a much higher level. Again, it's no doubt, 100%. Evaluate if your CMMS is fully functional and utilized. We mentioned that before. It's a big deal. If your CMMS isn't working right, we got a problem. And create lean maintenance single point lessons or Toolbox Talks. Okay. All right. So before I ask for the questions and comments, I got best maintenance technician practices workshop coming up, 3 days, December 8th to 10th. And you got my email address on there, and it'd be hosted. It'd be shown live in Clemson, South Carolina at Southern Western University, but it'll be virtual to most people. 99% of the people will be virtual on the internet. So no matter where you live, you can join up to it. Upkeep is the one sponsoring it with me, and so they'll be hosting it on Zoom, just like you see here now. So what are your questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Ricky. So we do have one from Brad. He said, do you see emergency and unplanned work into wrench time?
No.
Cool. And we have one from
Wait a
Shadrach.
minute. Wait a minute. Back up a minute. Back up a minute. If your hands on, think about this. You can look at it two ways, because if it's on reactive work, then how much time is actually turning a wrench compared to proactive work? You know, and to me, reactive work typically is we're going to patch it. We're going to go out and we're going to get it done as fast as we can. And how long it lasts, who knows? So yeah, reactive work, wrench time is very low. Okay.
Cool. We have another question here. It says, actually, oh, do you see people adding together?
See people adding together. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna pull up these.
Mm-hmm.
You see people adding together. Brad, what you meant by do you see people adding together? I'm gonna go to Jose. Jose, this is similar operational excellence. Absolutely it is. But we do it, we can do it as a project, but I want production engaged in it. I want them as part of this. But you could just say it's going to make it operational excellence. All we're going to do, this may be the best thing. So we're going to enhance operational excellence by pulling maintenance excellence into it, and we just call it operational excellence. How's that? Okay, Brad, just curious if they're not keeping the time separated. As far as the work they do, should be the time they should be putting down on a work order should be accurate. You know, how long does it take to do the job? No matter what the estimate, if the estimate is 2 hours, but it took me 6 hours to do it, they should put down in their work order that it should be 6 hours. Is that what you're saying, Brad? We got another question. There you go. Wrench time went from 39 to 50% because our planner discussed scheduler reduced work order delays. Ricky is absolutely right. Thank you very much. I love seeing that. That's exactly what it's all about. You know, increase in wrench time, work order delays. Absolutely. Do you see emergency and unplanned work in the wrench time? Yeah, I mentioned that. I mean, yeah, it is in the wrench time, but you got to think about this. If I'm going to do it right, it may take longer to do, but the equipment will last longer. Emergency work is quickly, let's go patch it and get it going. And production's on your back saying, how much longer is it going to be? All right, what else?
There's one from Nick. He says, most KPI dashboards I've seen typically give a single point in time. Do you see any advantages to providing multiple past KPIs for metric to see current trend?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Jose says, I measure the quality of documentation by audit. You know, what he's talking about there, I think, Jose, what you're saying is perfect, because what should happen is the planner, as part of their role, they should pull certain work orders out, so many work orders a week on random, and go through them and evaluate them. Did they follow the work order or not? Is the work order valid or not? And what I used to do with my guys, I didn't have my planner do it. I'd have one of my maintenance technicians, my best maintenance technicians, the one that sat down and went it. Every week I had them scheduled for 4 hours to go through the work orders and look at that. You support using maintenance resources for turnaround a project because of increased productivity. I have to tell you, on project work, especially if you're going to put new equipment in and all, like what I always did, I always put my best maintenance technician with the contractors, and they were my eyes and ears. So they were trained Well, how are they going to put it in? Are they going to install it correctly? Is it going to be aligned correctly? All these things. Even if you got a reliability engineer, I like to have the maintenance person there. And that same person should be assigned throughout the project. They can write the procedures for this project that's going in. Make sense? Question, Logan, when it comes to RAV, should we use the initial purchase price is not really the replacement asset value. You can do that. I mean, a lot of companies, because they don't know what true value is right now. Most companies, they take the actual cost when they put it in, when they install it. All I want is a baseline, but the baseline's got to be solid. So let's just say we use the initial purchase price. That's fine. Use that. So what does that mean? If we constantly measure that, so I bought my Lamborghini, and the Lamborghini is now starting to break down because we didn't do maintenance so well. Will the value of the Lamborghini go down? The value is still the same. But what we got to do is restore it to a maintainable level and then maintain it to a maintainable level. So that's a great one. Is the value RAV 1.7% to 3.4% for any industry? Yes, it's just kind of a catch-all. I haven't seen a difference in any of the ones I've done, looked at RAV on. I mean, some are higher, some are lower, but it's fairly well in that same bracket. My best SOP were written by a technician electrician. Absolutely. I want a tech to write it. Don't hire a consultant to write SOPs or procedures. Write them yourself. Like I say, I've got templates. I'd be glad to share with you and examples I can share with you. And they're on my website too. All right. So I want some of you guys put some of your technicians in this workshop I got coming up. Okay. All right, so what's Logan saying? So start with the initial price and replacement price increase in 5 years due to availability. We should adjust that. And the thing is, the replacement price, how do we know if the replacement price, that's what I always had a problem with, is understand it. How do we capture that? That's what it starts getting too convoluted and makes it difficult. I just go with the initial purchase price, because all it is a baseline. That's all that is. Because we're going to see our RAV, we want the baseline to be solid. We don't want to change the baseline. If we change the baseline, it's going to change the numbers. I want to know if we're improving or not. This is a controlled experiment. Maintenance is a controlled experiment. We put equipment in a controlled state and we measure it a certain way. And as we start seeing deviations from it, we can start making adjustments to it. But we still measure it exactly the same way. Okay. That it?
Awesome. I think that's pretty much it. And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to message Ricky. He's in the maintenance community as one of our experts. And so he's on there. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot him a message. But yeah, Ricky, I think that's the end of our time. We went a little bit over, but awesome content here. And thank you for answering just all of the questions that everyone had. And they're all flooding the chat saying thank you. And this was excellent. So yeah, thank you so much, Ricky.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a good night, guys. See ya.
Bye.